Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract abundance, while others constantly struggle despite their best efforts? What if I told you that the difference isn't luck, talent, or even hard work, but something invisible yet infinitely powerful that resides within you? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Deep within every human being lies a mysterious and invincible force, an invisible magnet that silently determines the course of your entire existence. Has this ever happened to you? You set intentions, make plans, work diligently, yet somehow the results never quite match your efforts? Or perhaps you've experienced those magical periods when everything seems to fall perfectly into place, as if the universe itself is conspiring to help you succeed. The truth is that this invisible magnet within you attracts, or repels, every circumstance of your life without you even realizing it. This force doesn't exist outside of you in some distant cosmic realm. It resides right here, within the sanctuary of your mind and spirit, in the secret vibration of your thoughts. For centuries, spiritual teachers have glimpsed this profound truth, but few have articulated it with the clarity and precision of Emmett Fox. His revolutionary teachings reveal how we can awaken and master this dormant power that shapes our reality. What you're about to discover might surprise you. This isn't about positive thinking alone, but about understanding the exact mechanisms through which consciousness creates experience. The ancient wisdom Fox unveiled shows us how to recalibrate our inner magnet to attract the good opportunities, abundance, peace, and fulfilling relationships, while simultaneously repelling the bad, fear, doubt, limitation, and everything that drains our vital energy. This isn't about wishing for prosperity. It's about embodying the precise vibration that makes prosperity inevitable. Most of us have been conditioned to search for fulfillment outside ourselves, through acquisition, achievement, and the approval of others. We exhaust ourselves chasing after success, unaware that true prosperity flows from within outward, never from without inward. Stay with me until the end of this journey, and you'll discover why most approaches to manifestation fail and how to activate the authentic power of attraction that is your birthright. The transformation begins with understanding a fundamental principle: like attracts like. Everything you sustain in consciousness will, by immutable law, manifest in your visible experience. Your thoughts are not passive observers of reality. They are the invisible architects of your circumstances, the silent magnets drawing to you experiences that match their vibration. But how do we elevate our consciousness to that height where abundance becomes our natural state? What specific practices allow us to clear the mental patterns of lack and limitation that have accumulated throughout our lives? And what happens when we truly understand that prosperity is not something to be conquered or pursued, but something to be allowed? As we explore these questions together, I invite you to approach this teaching not as a theoretical concept, but as a living truth waiting to be verified in your own experience. The invisible magnet of prosperity is already within you. If these principles of prosperity consciousness have resonated with you today, I invite you to join our growing community by subscribing to this channel. Each week, we explore powerful spiritual laws that transform how abundance manifests in your life. When you subscribe, you're not just following content, you're connecting with thousands of like-minded seekers who are actively applying these principles and experiencing remarkable transformations. Our subscribers receive first access to new teachings, meditation guides, and practical exercises designed to strengthen your invisible magnet of prosperity. Many tell us these videos have become an essential part of their spiritual practice. Hit the subscribe button now and activate your journey toward conscious abundance. Remember, prosperity isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. And this community is here to support you every step of the way. Now look closer at the journey most of us take when seeking prosperity. We've been conditioned to focus on the periphery, constantly chasing external achievements, accumulating possessions, and anxiously pursuing what appears to be outside ourselves. This mindset, though completely understandable in a world that emphasizes separation and struggle, has become the hidden source of our deepest frustrations and disillusionment. When we examine this approach through the lens of spiritual truth, a profound revelation emerges. Prosperity was never meant to be conquered or acquired through relentless effort. The transformation begins when we realize prosperity is something we allow rather than something we chase. This mindset shift represents one of the most liberating decisions you can make on your path to abundance. Think about it. What if the wealth, harmony, and fulfillment you seek isn't a distant goal reserved for a privileged few, but an inner reality already seeking to manifest through you? This isn't wishful thinking. It's a principle that has been verified by those who understand and accept their inherent connection to universal abundance. The journey toward true prosperity requires us to look behind the scenes of our consciousness. The universe operates through a fundamental law that governs all manifestation, like attracts like. This mental affinity is the only form of attraction that creates stable, deep, and enduring results in your life. No amount of external manipulation or physical effort can override this immutable principle. Everything, absolutely everything, that you sustain in consciousness will eventually manifest on the visible plane of your experience. This is why two people facing identical circumstances can experience completely different outcomes. It's not their actions alone that determine results, but the invisible vibration emanating from their thoughts, beliefs, and expectations. Your mind is not merely observing reality, it's actively creating it through this hidden mechanism of attraction. When you truly grasp the impact of this truth, you'll understand why traditional approaches to success so often lead to temporary results or unexpected setbacks. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how Jesus himself articulated this exact principle in his teachings, and how we can practically elevate our consciousness to become powerful magnets for the good we desire to experience. If this perspective on prosperity resonates with your own journey, write "allowing abundance" in the comments below. One of the most profound revelations in spiritual teachings comes from Jesus himself, who articulated this exact principle of attraction in the Gospel of John. He said, "And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." John 12:32. While many interpret this statement solely as a reference to a historical event, it contains a timeless metaphysical law that transcends any single moment in time. When we decode this wisdom, we discover its true meaning. As consciousness rises, as you lift your thoughts above patterns of fear, lack, doubt, and limitation, you naturally begin to draw good toward you, not through force or manipulation, but through the quiet power of spiritual affinity. This elevation creates a magnetic field that operates with mathematical precision, attracting experiences that match your new vibration. What makes this insight so revolutionary is how it completely transforms our approach to prosperity. The journey shifts from external striving to internal alignment. The awakening happens when you realize it was never about chasing blessings or pursuing abundance through exhausting effort. The hidden truth is that prosperity flows naturally toward you when you've elevated yourself to the level where its manifestation becomes inevitable. This is why so many traditional approaches to success feel draining. They operate from the paradigm of struggle rather than elevation. True magnetism forms not from what you do, but from who you become. This represents a fundamental shift in mindset that alters the very foundation of how you relate to abundance. The path of inner transformation revealed in these teachings is both secure and serene, the only approach capable of producing lasting results rather than temporary improvements. As you walk this path, you'll witness firsthand how the silent power of attraction awakens within you. Your decisions will align with principle, your perspective will expand, and the universe will begin responding with a generosity that might initially seem miraculous, but is simply the operation of spiritual law. Let's now explore the practical aspect of this teaching by examining how we can cultivate this magnetic power in our daily experience through self-observation, conscious choice, and the development of a prosperity consciousness. If you're beginning to see how elevation of consciousness creates magnetism in your life, type "rising higher" in the eye Comments. The journey toward understanding our invisible magnet requires us to recognize a fundamental principle. Every human being is constantly surrounded by an invisible atmosphere, a mental field that we project without even realizing it. This isn't some mystical force or esoteric spell, but a precise law operating ceaselessly in each of our lives with mathematical accuracy. When we look behind the scenes of reality, we discover what Christian metaphysics has called the law of mentalism, the cornerstone upon which every manifestation in the world of experience rests. This revelation completely transforms our understanding of what truly matters in life. The authentic center of your existence isn't found in what happens to you, what you possess, or what others think about you. It resides in the invisible core of your mind, the place where your beliefs form, your feelings originate, and your mental images take shape. This insight creates a paradigm shift in how we approach prosperity. It's no longer enough to superficially accept that thoughts influence our circumstances. The deeper truth requires us to understand with radical honesty that every situation, relationship, challenge, or achievement in your life is nothing more than the materialized consequence of what you've sustained mentally, whether consciously or unconsciously. As Proverbs 23:7 states with profound simplicity, "For as he thinks in his heart, so is he." This isn't poetic inspiration. It's a precise description of the creative principle governing human experience. Your outer world is perpetually rearranging itself to match the blueprint of your inner world. The impact of this understanding cannot be overstated. It places the true power of transformation directly in your hands. If we could see with spiritual eyes the actual state of our inner world, we would discover that we are living magnets, attracting with unfailing precision not what we say we desire, but what we genuinely believe, feel, and expect in the depths of our being. The universe doesn't respond to what we wish for on the surface. It responds to the silent vibration of our true convictions. Let's examine how this law operates in practical terms and why so many people, despite understanding these principles intellectually, struggle to change their life conditions through thought alone. If this perspective on the law of mentalism resonates with your experience, type "mental magnet activated" in the comments. Here's a fascinating revelation about this law of attraction. It simply cannot be deceived. Many people discover this truth during their transformation journey when they notice a disconnect between their conscious efforts and actual results. You might recite positive affirmations daily, visualize abundance, or practice gratitude rituals, all wonderful practices. Yet if beneath these conscious activities you secretly harbor images of lack, fear, or unworthiness, those hidden beliefs will determine what you attract. This explains one of the most common frustrations on the path to prosperity. The law responds not to what we say or do on the surface, but to the genuine vibration emanating from our deepest convictions. It's like trying to grow roses while unconsciously watering weeds beneath the soil. The revelations come when we're willing to look at what's truly alive in our subconscious mind. What the law of mentalism ultimately teaches us is something revolutionary. We don't live in a physical world that occasionally responds to our thoughts. We live in a mental world where our mind is continuously shaping our outer experiences. The most profound mindset shift occurs when you truly understand that it's not the outer world molding your consciousness. It's your consciousness crafting your entire reality. Each person lives in a universe created by their own convictions, feelings, and degree of acceptance of good. This isn't metaphorical. It's the literal mechanism through which reality operates. Your body, relationships, financial situation, health, opportunities, and apparent obstacles all find their root in some mental form, belief, or image held active in your consciousness. This brings us to the most important question. What are you attracting at this very moment in your life? If you're completely honest with yourself, you'll recognize it's not what you consciously wish for on the surface, but what deep down you truly feel to be real, possible, or inevitable. Your current circumstances are the perfect mirror reflecting your predominant thought patterns. The good news is this same law that may have manifested limitation can be deliberately used to create abundance once you understand how to access and transform the hidden content of your mind. If you've noticed a connection between your inner beliefs and outer experiences, type "My thoughts create my reality" in the comments. To illustrate this profound principle of mental magnetism, Jesus used one of his most revealing parables, the parable of the sower. In this timeless teaching, a sower goes out to plant seeds which fall on different types of ground. Some fall on the path and are immediately devoured by birds. Others land on rocky soil with little depth and quickly wither. Some fall among thorns and are choked. But those that fall on good, fertile soil produce an abundant harvest. This parable reveals a profound insight about our consciousness. Your thoughts are seeds being constantly planted in the garden of your mind. The soil represents your subconscious, that deeper part of you that actually determines what will grow and flourish in your life. When this soil is filled with rocks of fear, thorns of resentment, or the hardness of doubt, even the best seeds cannot take root. This revelation explains why positive thinking alone often fails to produce lasting transformation. The journey to prosperity begins with preparing the soil, cleansing your mind of elements contrary to abundance before planting new seeds of possibility. This inner cultivation is both an art and a science, requiring patience, understanding, and consistent practice. Here's the breakthrough that can completely revolutionize your relationship with prosperity. You can change the magnetism of your life. You are not a helpless victim of chance, fate, or external circumstances. You are the magnet itself, the creative center of your experiences. This power isn't reserved for spiritual masters or a select few. It's a universal law operating in every human being without exception. This understanding requires responsibility, but simultaneously confers tremendous power. The same principle that allowed difficulties to manifest can be used with equal effectiveness to attract every form of good into your experience. The catalyst for this transformation begins with a simple yet profound practice: self-observation. For at least 7 consecutive days, observe with absolute honesty the content of your predominant thoughts. Don't try to correct or judge what you discover. Simply witness. At day's end, record what you've thought, felt, and imagined about prosperity, health, relationships, and life in general. This awareness exercise becomes the foundation for authentic change by revealing what you're actually sowing in the garden of your mind. The discoveries from this practice often bring watershed moments in people's spiritual journey. If you're committed to this self-observation exercise, type "watching my thoughts" in the comments. When we explore the mechanics of prosperity consciousness, we must recognize that the mind is far more than just our surface thoughts. It's a complex network of conscious and subconscious ideas working in harmony, or sometimes in conflict. The subconscious mind operates as a silent worker behind the scenes, producing either good or harm, depending entirely on the nourishment it receives from our conscious thoughts. This revelation explains why many sincere seekers struggle despite their best intentions. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between helpful or harmful input. It simply accepts and acts upon whatever thoughts are repeatedly impressed upon it. If you allow thoughts of fear, lack, or criticism to settle into your subconscious garden, they will inevitably germinate in your experience, regardless of your conscious desires. The blueprint for transformation lies in understanding how to reach these deeper layers of mind that operate beyond immediate awareness. Changing deep thought patterns that seem beyond conscious control requires a specific approach: persistent repetition, constant affirmation, vigilance, and compassionate self-observation. Mental habits form exactly like physical ones, through the continued repetition of the same pattern until it becomes automatic. This insight represents a watershed moment in your prosperity journey. By deliberately repeating spiritual truths daily, sincerely affirming your right to abundance, and mindfully monitoring your words and reactions, the subconscious gradually accepts this new programming. The invisible magnetic field of your life begins to recalibrate itself, sometimes gradually, sometimes suddenly, but always inevitably. One of the most significant revelations from observing thousands of transformation stories is that the law responds not to force, but to consistency. The universe doesn't require titanic effort or periods of straining intensity. True magnetism develops through the steady elevation of thought, daily cleansing of the heart, and constant practice of truth, not through occasional bursts of enthusiasm. Like a farmer who doesn't pull up seeds to check their growth, but waters them faithfully each day while trusting the process. We must cultivate our mental garden with patience, faith, and unwavering consistency. The law of mentalism rewards fidelity to principle, not impatience or sporadic effort. If you recognize the importance of consistency in reprogramming your subconscious, type daily mental cultivation in the comments. A profound spiritual revelation awaits in Psalm 23-4, which contains perhaps the most powerful key to developing unshakable magnetic force. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. This timeless verse isn't merely poetic inspiration. It's a precise description of the inner assurance that forms the foundation of true spiritual magnetism. This inner security doesn't deny difficulties or pretend that challenges don't exist. Instead, it acknowledges that even in life's darkest valleys, there exists a presence, a principle, a power that remains undisturbed by external conditions. When you cultivate this deep certainty amid apparent adversity, you create a transformation in the magnetic field of your life, gradual but absolutely certain. The journey deepens when we recognize that the law of mentalism doesn't operate in isolation or in a vacuum. It's rooted in the very nature of the universe itself, in God as intelligence, love, and absolute good. This revelation completely shifts our understanding of prosperity. You're not an isolated magnet struggling in a hostile universe, constantly defending against scarcity. You're a channel through which infinite goodness seeks to express and multiply itself. This insight liberates you from fear, competition, and the gnawing sense of lack that pervades so much of human experience. When you truly understand that God is your source and sustenance, you stop begging from people, struggling for resources, or competing for limited supply. Instead, you begin to attract by affinity everything necessary for your well-being and fulfillment. At the core of this teaching lies a revolutionary truth. You are the invisible magnet that, by divine law, attracts into your experience whatever you sustain in your inner world. The past doesn't matter. Your current conditions don't matter. Other people's opinions don't matter. The only thing that truly determines your prosperity is what you're willing to accept, imagine, affirm, and feel as true in the depths of your being. The field of your life remains in your hands, and the seeds you plant today will become tomorrow's harvest. This understanding places tremendous power in your hands while simultaneously revealing the mechanism behind every experience you've ever had. If you've experienced moments where your inner certainty created unexpected blessings in your life, type divine connection activated in the comments. Let's explore the deeper mechanics of how this magnetic principle actually operates in your life. True attraction, the kind that creates lasting abundance rather than temporary results, is never achieved through physical effort, manipulation of circumstances, or trying to control outcomes. It manifests through the immutable law of mental affinity. Like attracts like, with mathematical precision. Whatever you genuinely sustain in your consciousness, whatever you truly believe and feel to be possible, will inevitably manifest on the visible plane of your experience. This revelation transforms our entire approach to manifestation. Many seekers spend years attempting to force desired outcomes through sheer willpower or exhausting effort, yet find themselves frustrated when results don't match their intentions. The breakthrough comes when you realize the universe, in its deepest essence, always responds to the vibration of your consciousness, never to your wishes, hopes, or surface-level desires. No external power, chance occurrence, or apparent obstacle can alter this unchanging course of mental law that establishes perfect correspondence between your inner state and outer manifestation. This principle operates with such reliability that those who truly understand it can predict outcomes based solely on the quality of consciousness they maintain. When Jesus spoke of being lifted up and drawing all things to himself, he wasn't referring to a physical or geographic height. He was revealing one of the most profound spiritual technologies ever articulated, that elevation of consciousness creates automatic magnetic attraction. This height represents a higher state of awareness, an elevated mental vibration, a point of perfect affinity with divine principle that naturally attracts, transmutes, and multiplies everything in alignment with its nature. The journey of prosperity becomes less about chasing and more about rising, elevating your thoughts above limitation, transcending old patterns of fear and scarcity, and placing yourself mentally at the level where abundance is the only possible expression. This shift represents a complete revolution in how we approach creation and manifestation. Let's now explore the practical methods for achieving this elevation of consciousness through visualization, affirmative prayer, and developing your direct connection to the inner Christ presence. If you've experienced moments where elevated thinking attracted unexpected good into your life, type lifted consciousness in the comments. The practice of elevating consciousness begins with a powerful yet simple technique, the visualization of the inner Christ. This isn't about imagining an external deity or distant figure, but recognizing the divinity and infinite intelligence that already exists at the core of your being. The transformation journey starts when you create sacred space in your daily experience for this recognition. Find a quiet moment where you can sit in silence, allow your body to relax completely, and gently quiet the external noise that constantly bombards your awareness. Then, with peaceful intention, direct your attention to the center of your being, traditionally located at the heart center. Envision a gentle, growing light emanating from within, not of this world, but of the inner realm. Allow this light to expand, illuminating every corner of your consciousness, dissolving shadows of doubt and fear. The revelation that changes everything is understanding you don't need to ask for anything in this practice. Simply recognize that the divine presence is already there, and in that presence exists all abundance, all wisdom, all power you could ever need. This recognition itself constitutes elevation, instantly connecting you with the higher magnetism of good. This visualization practice naturally leads to a profound shift in how we approach prayer. The prayer of elevation isn't about begging or pleading from a place of lack. It's about affirming with spiritual authority your divine heritage and inalienable right to good. A powerful elevation prayer might be, Father, I recognize your presence within me. I rise mentally above appearances and align with your infinite abundance. I allow your good to flow through me, and by affinity, I attract all that's necessary for the perfect expression of your will in my life. Specific affirmations become fundamental tools for raising your vibratory level. Dedicate time daily to repeat phrases that establish the consciousness of elevation. My thought is lifted up. My life is lifted with it. I attract only good into my experience, for I live from principle. I align with the inner Christ and allow prosperity to flow unhindered, no matter how adverse circumstances may seem. The blueprint for transformation emerges through consistent practice of these methods. What's your favorite technique for elevating your consciousness? Type inner elevation in the comments if you're implementing these practices in your life. Nature provides us with perfect metaphors for spiritual principles, and perhaps none is more powerful than the eagle during a storm. Have you ever wondered how eagles respond when dark clouds gather and winds begin to howl? Unlike other birds that seek shelter in valleys or hide in the trees, the eagle makes a remarkable decision. It spreads its magnificent wings and flies directly into the storm, using those powerful air currents to lift itself higher and higher until it soars above the clouds where the sun still shines undisturbed. This profound imagery reveals the exact blueprint for navigating life's challenges. When facing your own storms, financial pressure, relationship difficulties, health concerns, or any apparent limitation, you have the same choice. You can descend into worry, complaint, or identification with problems, or you can spread your spiritual wings and rise mentally above the appearance. Those who understand this principle hold firmly to their faith, maintain inner peace, and wait with absolute certainty until the storm passes below while they remain in the heights. This metaphor illuminates the magnetic law in its purest form. When you are lifted up in consciousness, you will draw all good to yourself. There are no exceptions to this principle. The universe responds with mathematical precision to the level from which you live. Every elevated thought, every act of faith, every word of gratitude strengthens your magnetic field, making the attraction of good increasingly powerful and natural. Perhaps the most revolutionary insight on this journey comes from understanding that most people operate under a fundamental misconception. We've been culturally programmed to believe that good must be conquered, pursued, or almost snatched by force from an indifferent or hostile universe. This paradigm of struggle and competition has shaped entire civilizations and fueled endless anxiety that actually pushes away the very prosperity we seek. The spiritual revelation turns this assumption completely upside down. Good, in its true nature, is not conquered. It is allowed. It's not pursued. It's accepted. It's not obtained through tension, effort, or anxiety, but through inner harmony that restores the natural flow of divine life through you. If you've experienced moments where surrendering control actually brought better results than forcing outcomes, type "allowing the flow" in the comments. This principle of allowing rather than pursuing is beautifully illustrated in one of Jesus' most profound parables, the story of the prodigal son. In this timeless narrative, a younger son impatiently demands his inheritance and sets out to seek fortune far from home, convinced that abundance lies in distant experiences, frantic pursuit of pleasure, and external recognition. Yet away from his father's house, he encounters deprivation, not by fate or bad luck, but by his own decision to separate from the center of abundance. The revelation comes in his moment of clarity. How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I perish here with hunger? His journey home represents far more than a physical return. It symbolizes the recovery of sonship, the inner state in which good has always been available. The Father, representing divine principle, doesn't demand sacrifice or penance, but receives him with celebration and unconditional love. This story offers us a living blueprint of the mental law governing all human experience. We are all the prodigal son whenever we chase good outside ourselves, seek prosperity through anxious effort, believe life is scarce, or imagine that love must be earned. The return to center means releasing tension, ceasing to struggle, abandoning the belief in an separation, and recognizing that prosperity is your natural inheritance that can only be accepted, never conquered. A transformative practice for restoring this flow is relaxation and surrender. Spend a few minutes each day sitting in silence, eyes closed, breathing deeply. With each exhalation, release all anxiety, worry, and forced expectation. As you inhale, affirm mentally, "I allow good to flow through me." I release all struggle, all tension, all need to control. I align with principle and allow my inheritance to manifest. Don't expect instant results. The mind, long accustomed to struggle, needs time to learn the art of allowing. The hidden truth in this teaching reveals itself in the quality of your actions. This doesn't mean avoiding action. Inspired action, diligence, and persistence remain essential. The crucial difference lies in the inner state from which you act. Action from anxiety inevitably breeds more anxiety. Action from trust produces harmonious results. To discern which state you're operating from, simply observe your sensations. If you feel pressure, haste, fear, or doubt, you're pursuing. If you feel peace, joy, gratitude, and certainty, you're allowing. If you've noticed the difference between forced effort and inspired action in your life, type "from struggle to flow" in the comments. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what metaphysical teachers call the law of mental equivalent, perhaps the most fundamental principle governing prosperity. This universal law reveals that everything appearing in the visible realm is merely the projection of an image already existing in the invisible realm of mind. Nothing can manifest in your external experience that hasn't first been conceived, nurtured, and accepted as possible in your mental world. This revelation completely transforms our understanding of manifestation. The most common and costly mistake on the journey to abundance is attempting to change outer conditions while leaving the inner blueprint intact. It's like trying to project a different image while using the same film. The mental equivalent is the master key, connecting thought with experience, desire with form, faith with fulfillment. A person may desperately seek financial freedom while inwardly sustaining an image of lack. They might long for loving relationships while secretly harboring resentment or distrust. The spiritual universe operates with mathematical precision. It doesn't respond to isolated efforts or wishful thinking, but to the living presence of an inner mold that exactly corresponds to the desired result. Building a powerful mental equivalent begins with recognizing that your mind is both creative and receptive by nature. Every thought sustained with sufficient clarity and feeling leaves an imprint on the subconscious, which then organizes and coordinates circumstances, people, and opportunities to match that mental seed. It's like programming the GPS of your life journey. Whatever destination you consistently input will determine where you arrive. This process works because of the remarkable nature of the subconscious mind, that deeper territory where everything is sown and harvested that will appear in your experience. Unlike the conscious mind with its capacity for analysis and discrimination, the subconscious faithfully obeys all impressions it receives without judgment or filtering. It's the silent worker of good or limitation according to the nourishment you provide it through your predominant thoughts. If you're experiencing breakthroughs and understanding the connection between your inner world and outer reality, type mental equivalent activated in the comments. One of the most persistent illusions blocking our access to true prosperity is our tendency to place faith in channels rather than the source itself. Look around, and you'll notice how we've been conditioned to perceive employment as the source of sustenance, clients as the cause of abundance, and governments or institutions as guarantors of security. This mental framework creates a subtle but powerful form of dependence that actually undermines our magnetic power. The revelation that transforms this limited perspective is understanding that no external channel is ever the true source of good. All people, situations, jobs, institutions, and conditions are merely temporary instruments through which divine principle expresses itself. The source is and will always be God, absolute good, the one principle that never changes, never diminishes, and never becomes unavailable. This insight isn't about disdaining human channels or renouncing practical action in the world. It's about establishing a clear hierarchy in your consciousness. Channels may change, but the source remains constant. Forms may transform, but the principle never varies. When you transfer your faith from visible vehicles to the invisible source, you experience a profound liberation. The ability to remain centered even when specific channels appear threatened or close entirely. The journey culminates in perhaps the most empowering revelation of all. You are the invisible magnet, the center of attraction, the primary cause of all manifestations of good in your life. No event, circumstance, person, or external channel possesses the inherent power to grant or deny you prosperity. The magnetic force that attracts abundance or perpetuates limitation resides solely in your state of consciousness, in the quality of your thoughts, feelings, and alignment with divine principle. Prosperity isn't the result of struggle, desperate effort, or external pursuit. It's the direct consequence of allowing and expressing the Christ within in every aspect of your existence. The more you recognize and affirm your unity with the principle, the more the universe responds to your inner vibration. Good doesn't come from outside in. It emanates from the deepest part of your being and projects outward into experience in concrete, unexpected, and perfect forms. The field of consciousness research reveals a fascinating truth. You are the point of origin, the channel, the creative center which, when open to the flow of spirit, becomes that invisible magnet whose attraction is silent, infallible, and constant. If you're realizing that your own consciousness is the true magnetic force in your life, type "I am the magnet" in the comments. As we complete this exploration of the invisible magnet within you, remember that this journey of consciousness is ongoing. Every day presents new opportunities to practice these principles, to elevate your thinking, and to align with the divine source that never fails. The transformation we've discussed isn't theoretical. It's a living experience waiting for your participation. Each time you choose to rise above appearances, to maintain faith amid challenges, to recognize the source rather than fixating on channels, you strengthen your magnetic field and attract corresponding good into your experience. If this message has resonated with your own spiritual journey, I'd love for you to be part of our community. Subscribe to this channel where we regularly explore these timeless principles that have transformed countless lives throughout history. Your subscription helps us continue creating content that awakens and empowers. If you've made it all the way through this exploration of prosperity consciousness, type "magnet" activated in the comments. I'd love to know who's walking this path of transformation with us. And if you found value in these teachings, a simple like on this video helps others discover these principles that might be exactly what they need in their own journey. There's a video right here that takes these prosperity principles even deeper, exploring how to apply them specifically to healing relationships and creating harmony in your connections with others. Click and continue with me over there as we discover how the same magnetic law transforms not just our prosperity, but every relationship in our lives.